What's up, everyone? Welcome to the channel, RC Kevin. Thank you for being there. Today is episode 2 of Zac from DRC and Kevin chatting about RC products. So today we're going to try and talk about connectors, what's the best for your usage, and hopefully you'll get to learn a couple of things. So, hey, Zac, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself, Kevin?
Not bad, not bad. So hopefully we get to learn a couple of things. I know that you got some pretty interesting number for us. So that's it. So to simplify a bit things, we're going to go on drcproshop.com right here. drcproshop.com. We're going to try and look at connectors, and hopefully we'll be able to see things a bit better. So I think Zac is having issues with his dog. That's always fun when we record something. So we're gonna go in charging products. We're gonna go to connectors, and we'll be talking about different connectors. So we know that there's a different version like Dean's, XT60, XT90, Bullet. So trying to understand what's the best for what usage, and we'll try and talk about what's the best for everything. So I think the first connector that we have here is the Dean's. So what can you tell us about Dean's connector? They've been used for forever, and what can you tell us?
Right. So, first thing I'd like to tell you guys is Dean's is a brand. Like a tissue box, when you buy like a tissue thing or toilet paper or something like that, you buy a brand. So you buy Kleenex, you buy Charmin or something like that. Dean's is a brand. So what the industry calls these connectors is a T-plug or T connector. So that's what we call them. So the T connectors are rated for about 25 amps of continuous use, and I'll have some independent testing up here the following week. But for the time being, we're using some data I have from my manufacturer, and their maximum instant current is 50 amps. So their maximum instant current can be sustained for about 1 minute without harm to the plug. Otherwise, they're rated for 25 amps, and that can be found with Dean's brand or our connectors as well.
And what can develop like 25 amps? Are we talking about 1C, 1S, 2S, 3S?
So typically with 25 amp draw, you're talking about like 4-wheel drive short course, 4-wheel drive buggy, or 4-wheel drive truggy. So for those type of classes, we recommend a sturdier type connector that can handle more amperage, like maybe an EC5 or an XT90 or a bullet style connector that's able to handle these amperages that are produced with today's battery types. And especially today's motor and ESC combos, that way you're able to not choke your system down. So if you have, for example, a plug that's maybe not soldered well or that isn't rated for the amperage that you're trying to put through it, it's like, so you have like a garden hose, right? But then you clamp the garden hose and only a little bit of water is coming out. Well, that's what it's like when you have a plug that's not rated for that application, has a bad solder joint on it. So when you have a proper plug on there, it's like it's flowing, like a garden hose flowing all the way through, and you get all the water. That's kind of what you want.
Cool.
So
Right,
if you're using a plug like this and you have it not soldered well, or you have it over, you're noticing the connector and the wires are getting hot, that's a good indication after a run, like a 6-minute run or a 5-minute run, whatever you're doing. That's a good indication that the connector isn't up for the task that you're trying to put it through. So generally these apply to 4-wheel drive short course, buggy, and truggy, and e-buggy. So in those scenarios, we recommend a sturdier plug like a bullet or before mentioned. So like hot is like over 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
Cool. That's good data. So basically, people that use this for e-buggies or crawlers or drag racers is not the best idea.
Crawlers might be okay. Drag racing and e-buggies, not so much.
Okay. Then we move to bullets. So obviously you got the 5 mil, the 4 mil, the steep, the step, that you use most of the time in the charge leads. And then you got this one, the double-sided. So what can you tell us about those?
So the 5 mil, so right now he's showing our kind of, I'll say our house brand of connectors, if I can say it like that. So you'll notice that it'll say with shoulder and without. So the with shoulder are easier to solder to and provide an additional service area for you to do so. They don't provide any negative benefits, and they help with promoting a larger service area for you to solder to. They offer the same specifications as our regular without. The testing on those is not yet back from manufacturer. So the ratings are in at 90 amps for the 4 to 5 mil and the 5 mil connectors for those sides. And then the 4 mil is rated for 70 amps. So you're pretty well set up. And this is the maximum instantaneous current. So like the average current is like 40 amps. And I know we're like not really splitting hairs here, but most guys, like 40 amps is pretty much all they're going to do. Some guys are pushing it to the limit and they're charging and discharging at 80 amps. So I'm trying to provide this data for you guys. And I'll have a nice spreadsheet for you with a lot of pictures on a Instax ohm meter by hopefully next week.
And we'll be putting the link in the description as soon as it's available. You'll be able to see all the data from DRC. So those basically the same thing. You got the same bullets, and then you got the RC Pro Plus shoulderless solderless with the pins. What do you think about those? They restrict current. You got better stats from those?
So from our testing, initially they have the same type of resistance on average as our soldered connectors, which is good. So we brought those on to offer our supporters a way to connect their wires without soldering, because we know that that's a hassle for some of our supporters and others out there. So we're trying to just bring another avenue of product that's a quality product in that they might be able to use.
Cool. So that's pretty much it. We're going to move to the EC connectors. So basically, how many EC connectors there is? There EC3 and EC5?
Right. There's also an EC2 connector that's available that's used in like some mini style, like mini Z type classes that are available. We don't carry those products at the moment for the connector style, but we do offer them with our charge leads. So we're hoping to get some data on those as well. But the EC5 and the EC3. So the EC5 uses a 5 millimeter connector, and male and female, and the EC3 uses a 3.5 millimeter male and female connector. So we'll have that information for you as well shortly. In terms of rating, pulling up for a nice document here. So the EC3 plug is rated at 25 amps average, and the EC5 is rated at 40, while the the EC3 is rated at 50 amps maximum for 1 minute. The EC5 is rated at 90 amps maximum for 1 minute.
And you can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the EC5 and EC3 connectors are much more solid when you put them together. I've seen a lot of people with Deans just get unplugged, that they tend to put tire wraps or something to try and keep them together. So I think these do a better job of staying together.
Right. So especially with the solid design like we use, so there's two style of bullet connectors for the male, which is the part that goes inside the other one.
Yes, we know.
Well, some people get it confused. So the male, so if you don't know, the male, when somebody says a male connector, they're referring to the metal connector, not the housing. The metal connector goes into another one. So like you can see here where Kevin's posting. Yeah. So
This
it's
goes into there.
right, versus the female. Even though the connectors are kind of mixed up. I don't make the connectors. I'm just the bearer of bad news. So, anyway, so there's two styles of bullet connectors. One is more of like a spring style, and one's more of a solid design style. So the solid design is what we use because it's able to carry more amperage over a longer time period as well. So longer time period meaning more uses and for a longer period on each use. So if you're using the spring style, those springs wear out and you eventually get a bad connection. If you're using the solid design style, you have a better connection and you can use it for longer because you have that better connection.
Cool. Thank you.
And yeah, so on the XT and the EC connectors, you have a better connection for a longer time. So it's harder to pull them apart versus like a Dean's or a T connector where you might have it easier. And also there's less surface area for you to use. So it's easy to do that.
All right. So I know those are not specific to batteries. Well, to connectors to the battery, but sometimes they're useful. So what are those on your website? The 7-pin, the JT.
So right now, Kevin's looking at the Jst connectors, and essentially that's a line of products not designed by ourselves, but like an industry standard, if you will. So the first one on the left there is the Jst Pq connector, which is a very old style connector. It's about 25 to 30 years old. It's not very relevant anymore. The pin design is a little bit different than the Jst XH, which is now the industry standard. They switched to the Jst XH because they're able to carry more amperage and they're a little bit easier to use. Now you notice all of our connectors are black in color. That's something we kind of like. It's a little more chic than the white color. Sometimes you get a different coloration on the white plugs. They're a little more opaque. Some of them a little more clear. It's not really great. So we went with the black plugs, and you can see all the legs on the female housings are cut off, so you can plug them directly into your charger.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to mention. It's something stupid, but something I find so cool and easy to use. Having that one tab, I don't know if it's shaved off or sanded off or whatnot, but it works so much better in your charger. You don't have to scrape it off or to do anything funky. It's ready to go when you get it. So that's easy for every charger.
Yeah, so it's just an additional feature we offer with our connectors. And then you notice on the right there, the male versions. So what these are used for, you can use them to build your own balanced charge leads if you so choose. You can use them to upgrade your batteries. Say you got your battery hot, now your plug's looking funky. Well, these are rated for a much higher temperature than your standard white plug. Another nice feature. They also come with heat shrink to reinforce them. Now this heat shrink is dual wall adhesive heat shrink. And they come with extra so you can mess about a little bit. So you have a smaller and a larger size. So you can really reinforce it, or you can just make it the one size. Whatever works for you.
Cool. All right, let's go back to the connector page. Again, we can see the new DRC website. You got any questions? Super easy to see. So the T-style connector, the Deans, we already spoke about them. So basically 25 amps. Ideally, you want a tire wrap to keep them together. So for all drag racing, for all racing applications, most of the time, I don't think that's the best idea. So let's go to XT connectors. So again, we got the black. Sorry about that. So again, we got the black look. Make sure looks dialed.
So I'm sure Kevin will have a nice banner in here, but these are available at DRCProShop.com. You can message on social media at DonathanRC. Message Kevin. He is our token Canuck that supports us.
Token Canuck. If you want to use the RC Kevin promo code down in the description, you're going to save 15% off your orders, $15 and more. And yeah, your new website is super easy to use. Before, we needed to contact you to make sure that our leads, we had the special questions and whatnot. But seriously, this is dummy proof. You see even more options than I knew existed. So every time I go on the website, I create myself a bit more needs and demands. So as you know, I have an order coming in. I need some more stuff. So thanks, Zach, for supporting me. And it's really cool to see all these options. So all the connectors that we've seen right now is stuff that you can put directly on charge leads, or if you want to put ESC and battery combo to make sure that you're optimizing your current that goes from the battery to the ESC, that's something else that you can use, and make sure that you use the correct one. So that's pretty much why we're doing all of this. Make sure you have the right information, and that you can get the most juice out of your batteries.
Right. And the cool thing is, if you're like in between batteries or trying a new one, you can always build your own adapter on our site as well, or make your own. So a lot of that's why we offer these products for our customers that are looking to do so. We're trying to help out the hobby and make sure the racers and the RC enthusiasts get the product that they need to do their thing.
Cool. So XT90, XT60, I'll go with my smarts, and I'll say that the XT90 has a bit more amperage.
Right. So the XT90, you put them in the spot here. I believe it uses a 4.5 mil connector. Now I'll have to double check that number. 4.5 millimeter, I believe. I know for sure that XT60 uses a 3.5 millimeter.
Hey, if you're wrong, the YouTubes are gonna tell you that you don't know your stuff. So
I don't read the comments, so we'll amend this later. So
or
the XT90 is rated at 45 amps average and 90 amps maximum. And the XT60 is rated at 30 amps average and 60 amps maximum.
So for everything over 2S, I think XT90 is the optimal choice.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair guesstimation.
I think they hold together again better. It happened to me once. I used to be the guy that had Dean's stuff on most of my ESCs in 8 scale, and it happened a couple of times just by the car flexing that they pop out. So I think having something that's a bit more secure, you'll make sure that you don't have that failure, and you'll be able to have a bit more amperage that goes through it.
Well, I mean, if you're using inflexible wire, that tends to happen as well. Or if you're using too tight of a, if you cut your wires off and you only have so much to work with and the car flexes, that's no good. So, you can always use a super flexible wire like the leveled up wire at drcproshop.com. Shameless plug number 3, I think.
That's okay. We said that we weren't going to do it too much, but you're beating me up on it.
I'm sorry. Tonight's been a good night. Like it's,
That's okay.
So these are some of the connectors and some of the information. So we'll have another post a little bit later on, and maybe we can do a little bit more in-depth look at the resistance of these connectors at a later date with some more numbers.
But if you got a specific question, you can definitely drop a comment down below. We'll be able to check with the master, Zac. And if we don't have the precise information, we'll go and find it for you and make sure we can help you out. I had one last question. I know that I do see that sometimes in spec racing where people trade off motors, or sometimes in bashing where you see a bullet male to female between the ESC and the motor. Does it affect a lot performance, or it doesn't change it too much?
So I'm glad you brought this up. Essentially, every solder joint is 1 ohm of resistance. So like a good stock 17.5 motor, I'm hoping I remember these numbers right. It's like a 17 ohm resistance. Just for the sake of the argument, we'll say it's 17. Every solder joint you add to your motor and or battery beyond that is 1 ohm of extra resistance, plus the connector. So you typically have 2 solder joints, or 1 extra solder joint and 2 connectors, excuse me. So you add about 2 ohms approximately, depending on which connector you're using, maybe 1.5 ohms to 2 ohms of extra resistance. Now, if you had a motor, so you're getting a tuned motor from your favorite motor companies, we're not going to mention any names, but you got motor X, and it has a resistance of 18.5 for a 17.5 turn, and you paid $150 for this thing. And you got motor Y from the same company, and it's got 17 ohms of resistance. Now, these both pass your respective governing bodies. Obviously, you want the motor Y with 17 ohms of resistance. Now, I understand that there's a few organizations out there that have certain rules and things like that. But as a general rule, the less solder joints and the less connections you have, the less resistance you have, which means the more power you can put down to the track and the faster you can go.
Cool. That makes sense. I think that sums up what I wanted to know, what we wanted to talk about connectors. We're at 23 minutes and a half. We're getting there. We're getting there on trying to keep it simple, stupid, trying to keep it short. Again, I greatly appreciate your time, Zac. It's fun to get out there and get the correct information. And if you guys have any comments, questions, or insults, dropping down below in the comments. Feel free to share this video across your different platforms. Hopefully we get to share the right information for you, our C enthusiasts. Doesn't matter what you race, if you bash or whatever. We hopefully we just want to help you guys out. So thank you very much for being there. Have a good day.